Hey folks, Christina here. This video is going to walk you through assignment leadership reflection number 1. This is going to be due for us on the 20th, and I'm just going to walk us through the instructions and submission area here in Blackboard. So let's take a look at the instructions page for this assignment. And I would definitely encourage you make sure you finished all the information for week 1 and 2 prior to starting this assignment. That will help you have some context for the things that you're going to answer. This is actually your first step in creating your personal leadership profile, which is going to be your final project in this class. And in this activity, you're going to reflect on your core values, your leadership influences, and your current approach to managing time and priorities. So in section 1, what you're going to do is just basically look at these questions and write a narrative explaining what are your top core values? How do you know? Where do these values come from for you? How do these values show up in your daily life? And how do you think that those values will influence the way you lead them? Then you'll have a section, I would encourage you to use headings for this, about your leadership influences. You're going to identify 2 or 3 people who have influenced your understanding of leadership. You can pick those people from anywhere, personal, professional, public figures, real. It could be, a figure that was in a novel that you read or a movie that you watched. Then you're going to write a little bit about the traits and behaviors that had the greatest impact on you, and were there influences that showed you how not to be a leader. Sometimes our leadership influences are people that show us how we don't want to lead. And then finally, what type of leadership influencer are you? And you can think about the 5 levels of leadership we covered. You can think about lots of information that was covered in week 1 to answer that question. The next section is all about time management and the Eisenhower matrix. And you're just going to reflect on your current time management. What are you doing well and where do you struggle? Then you'll use the Eisenhower matrix and the 15-minute miracle experiment. So you will need to look ahead a little bit at that 15-minute miracle in order to do section 3 of this paper. And you'll just talk about what quadrant of the Eisenhower matrix do you currently spend most of your time in? What would your ideal time management strategy look like? And then what stood out to you from the 15-minute miracle experiment? So you'll want to take a little bit of time to look at that and see what stands out to you. And then finally, what is one change that you could make to your time management or your practices that can help you lead better? That's an overview of the assignment. And so when you go in to the leadership reflection, what you're going to see is just like you have seen in the previous assignments, a little note that reminds you how to make your submission and a little view instructions here. When I click the view instructions, it just reminds me, hey, I need to have the file in a Microsoft Word document. PDF files or links will be given a score of 0. I am going to update this assignment due date just to give you a few more days to work on the 15-minute miracle. So you'll see a change in this date. By the time you watch this video, that will be changed. All right, folks, that is an overview of that leadership reflection activity. I'm going to sign off and I'll be back soon with a video that walks us through the leadership in action activity number 2. Okay, see you soon.